Bomba-dee-da, 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 bomba-dee-da,
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome to Happy Trails Podcast.
Happy
Your
Trails.
key.
It says
Your
right here, right over there.
right there. Can you see it? Am I
Happy
on?
Trails.
Happy Trails.
And not the Happy Trails to you. Not that one, but the Atomic Punks version. Yes. Atomic Punks. Still killing it. Still killing it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So this is your key to financial freedom is
Yes.
listening and learning from us. So we're glad that you're along for the ride, and we both have our Bynum aesthetic dentistry hats on. So we're twinning today.
Only now, why does yours say B and mine says D? Or does mine say D because I'm
What?
looking at it on my screen?
What are you talking about?
Does
You're
my
dumb.
hat say B to you?
Yes, it's B. They're the
See,
same.
when I'm looking at my screen, it says D.
What? There's something wrong with you.
Well,
Your
there's a
screen.
lot wrong with me, but that's irrelevant.
B
Hey,
for Blaine.
welcome.
Dr. Blaine
Welcome.
McLaughlin. That's me from Robbins, Iowa, and we're a dentist in our later years, and we're headed into real estate investing. We're learning all sorts of stuff, and we're sharing it with you guys to help you out.
And B for Dr. Matt Bynum here in Greenville, South Carolina. Classmate of the Doogie Howser of dentistry. That's Blaine McLaughlin. And we go back almost 30 years in this stuff. And yeah, long time. So here we are trying to figure out what the heck do we do next. And a couple years ago, we stumbled upon the idea of real estate, especially in particular, multifamily real estate. And we sought education through the Sumrock ecosystem and have since learned several other from different people, different podcasts, different avenues that we've explored beyond just multifamily and syndication of multifamily real estate into other areas as well. And we're taking y'all along for the ride for education as well as in potential future deals. So we'd love to have you join our group. Join us every week as we podcast every week at an unknown day. We don't have a particular day that we put it together because the truth is we have freaking lives, people, and shit happens. You know what I mean? We get busy. We got stuff to do. We go on vacation.
Man.
We go to Budapest. We go to
Barcelona.
Spain, Barcelona, and stuff like that. So, we're just like you. Whether you're a dentist or non-dentist, doesn't matter. You've got life, you've got vacation, you got family. Same thing here, people. And that's what makes this particular podcast so awesome is you get the real truth and nothing but the truth. Even if we don't know what we're talking about, we're going to tell you.
But we do know what we're talking about.
We
so
do.
That's cool. That's cool.
We do in a lot of it. And if not, we've done a lot of research on some stuff.
Or we'll let you know. We don't know.
Like today in particular, at the end, we have some stuff that has come up, questions that we have, and some things that we're going to find out for the group and for ourselves as well. So
let's start off with this question, Matt.
Yeah.
What's the most expensive thing you'll ever spend your money on?
What is the most expensive? Is this a trick question? What is the most expensive thing you'll spend
what's the most expensive thing your whole life?
I think that would be taxes.
Bam, right there. See?
Boom.
Yeah.
See that?
Taxes is the biggest expense you'll ever have. Unless you're cheating the government. And so we're like, how in the world is so much? How in the world do we get through this? And can we defer these? What can we do legally, of course, to, limit our tax bill, minimize our tax bill? One of the ways is called a 1031 exchange, and that's what we're going to discuss today.
You know what I think about when I think of taxes? I think about one thing in particular.
What, how great the roads are, or how wonderful the government is?
Who's got your money? Who's got your money?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And secondly is how much I pay in taxes.
Right.
It's
Right.
ridiculous. I do
Well,
think there's a couple things, I think we're hitting on today. We're going to talk about 1031 exchange, right?
yep.
Which is, I think, great information and awesome. I think coming up, we're going to have to dive into this professional real estate status and go
Yep.
dive deep into it, because it's a question that comes up time and time again. And
Yeah.
it's what we're all looking forward to. So I think in the next 1, 2 podcasts, 3 podcasts, we're going to dive deep into professional real estate status and what's involved, what's truly involved, because this 1031 exchange is just another avenue to help with the money that's made from the real estate and keeping it out of the taxes that you'd have to pay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so just the whole point of the 1031 exchange in just kind of an overview is that what you can do with that is you can take, and if you have real estate property and you sell it, you're going to get taxed on the income, the capital gains that you made, unless you do this 1031 exchange, and you can reinvest that money into another property
Mm-hmm.
and then not pay tax on the capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's true. That's true. Because the truth of the matter is this, people out that are listening out there, is all of us have a silent partner that you probably didn't even know about. And you know who that silent partner is? Who is it, Blaine?
He's your uncle.
Uncle Sam.
Sam.
Uncle Sam is your silent partner. You had no idea.
Yep.
And he's going to take a big chunk of whatever you put your time, money, and effort into, because he can. Now,
Yep.
I don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair. And I think it's ridiculous. So you know what? They have avenues written in the tax code that you're going to have to spend time learning to be able to take that money away from Uncle Sam and put it into your pocket for your efforts and your energy.
Yeah.
And this 1031 exchange is one of those avenues. So
Yep.
today's talk on the 1031 is really how to get rid of Uncle Sam, how to get him out of your money.
Exactly.
In this particular case.
Yeah. Right. So this isn't a new concept, Matt. This became a law back in the 1920s. You know what was going on in the 20s?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of depression stuff going on, and it was economically a bad situation. And so the government put in this law. They were trying to stimulate the economy and trying to stimulate the farming economy in particular.
Do you know anything about the farming economy?
Well, I'm in Iowa.
Yes, you do.
And
yes, you do.
My grandfather was a farmer, and he did all sorts of crops. And so I even got to plant some one year. It was cool when I was young.
And I went to school in Iowa with you, and I got to be around some farms.
Yeah.
So farming is very important.
Very close
very
to
important. Yes, very close to my heart, for sure.
So what the government was trying to do is they were trying to stimulate the farming economy so farmers could sell their property and buy bigger properties after they were established. And then the smaller properties could be sold to people coming into the farming system. And it was just help to grow the farming economy. So, and it deferring taxes was a big way of doing that. And so I think it worked. It worked pretty well. So that's kind of how it got going. And here we are, 120 some years later, 110 years later, I guess it's 105, whatever. Math.
100 something.
100 plus years later,
whatever it is,
and it's still around. And so there's some talk why is it still around if this is such a good thing and we defer these taxes, and the government, how they always want more and more and more tax.
Yep.
Is this going to be a problem moving forward? Are they going to change the laws and not let people do this? And I would say, some of the things I would say no. And here's number one. Here's number one, and why this will probably not get pulled back or altered very much, is because the people making the laws that's Congress, right? They're making the laws, and most of them are freaking rich like no other, and most of them have real estate. And I would bet they use this all the freaking time. And if they were to say, hey, that's not allowed, then they're screwed. They're screwing themselves. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
No way in hell, because they're tied up just like everybody else. They talk about it. They talk about how they could probably get rid of this and make some more money somehow, and then they all realize, then we're going to end up losing money too. So no, let's take that off the table.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's been in, I mean, since 1920.
Yeah.
And you know the reason that it started in 1920, because there was a huge lawsuit against the IRS, and the IRS lost. That was the deal. So they put forward this 1031 exchange and had to put some rules around it, because, you know, one of the things about 1031 is that you have to have a person that handles the intermediation work of all the 1031 exchange, and they're called a qualified intermediary. The qualified intermediary is basically Switzerland in between the sale of the practice and what you do with it, because they just serve as a middle person. They document everything. They keep all the regulations and things straight, and they keep basically you in check. I'm sure they take a fee. They get a fee.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Sure.
while they're Switzerland, they get a little bit on the side. And, you know, that's great for them. But at the same time, there's no way to do a 1031. You can't do it by yourself. You got to have somebody
Nope.
do it.
That's because the IRS doesn't trust you. They're like,
No,
hey, you can't do this. You'll make some crap up. We
you
need to,
cannot do this.
So you got to get a qualified intermediary, and they'll hook you up, man.
They'll get you straight. They'll get you straight. So that's number one, right?
Yeah.
Now
Yep.
I find that the people talk about 1031 exchange, and they talk about what's called the 4Ds. I've heard about this through other people. You've heard about this, right, Blaine?
Yeah.
The 4Ds. And the first one of the 4Ds is deferment.
Defer.
Right?
Yep.
What's the second one?
The second one is defer.
Defer. Oh, so the third one would be, I'm going to go with defer.
Anybody want to guess out there?
I'm going to go with the defer for 500, Bob. Boom.
Yep.
Now, there you go. We'll hit the fourth one. That's three. We'll hit the fourth one here in a little bit, because, you know, that's what it is. So basically, deferment is the key word in any of this 1031 exchange. So what do we want to do? What are we deferring, Blaine? Are we deferring all the money, or what are we deferring?
You're taking the income or the proceeds from one sale, and then you're investing in another one. And again, it's tax-free. You don't have to pay tax on the income, but there are certain rules that you have to follow.
Yes.
You have to have a property in place within 45 days of the sale. So your first property is sold, the one you own is sold. Within 45 days, you have to have another property, not closed on, but another property lined up and ready to go.
Yes. And then you have time to close that property. But the first is identifying within 45 days. And you know, they're very strict about this. In all the research that I did and you did, they're very strict about this 45 days. So if you have property that you're identifying and you have not sold your property yet, you want to make sure the timing of the sale of your property allows you the 45 days to place something, a hold, a deposit, something to identify the property that you're going to move it to, because you have to have something enacted. You've got to have an offer, LOI. You've got to have something moving on the piece of property. As long as you do that within 45 days, then you're within legal ramification to continue the process and defer your tax that you would pay.
Correct.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen.
And then you have 180 days to close on the new property.
Yep.
From the sale of the old property.
Yep.
So you got to make sure things are kind of in a row. I mean, you know, you shouldn't go, hey, I'm going to sell this property, and then it's sold. You're like, that's cool. Hey, okay, now what am I going to do? You probably ought to, work on that beforehand.
Scramble City is what you do.
And I think of some of the properties that we LP'd in, year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When we got into this, some of these were like, hey, we're going to close in July. And then something happened, and it was August, and then it was September, and then finally in October it closed. So it's like, you could get into something if you're not careful, and if they keep extending the closing date, you might run over your 180 days. Now, 180 days should be sufficient time.
Yeah, it's about 6 months, right?
That's 6 months. You should have sufficient time to get closed on something that you already have. But again, the timing is key. And if you don't make the timing right, then Uncle Sam comes knocking at your door. Hey, who's got your money? Who's got my money is what he's going to say.
Your money.
And then you're responsible for those taxes.
Go back to the timing, because I think people are going to get a little confused on this. So the timing begins with the closing of the sale of your first property. So at the closing of property A, you have 45 days to identify property B. If you don't find it in the 45 days, you're getting taxed. Period. And there's no option. There's no alternative. You pass go, leave the $200, go to jail, because that's just the way it works. So once this closes, you have 45 days to identify this property. You better identify another property long before 45 days. I got news for you. So for instance, Blaine, you and I have many properties we've invested in. These properties are coming up within the next probably 2 years of when they're either going to sell or they're going to refinance, right? That's the probable guesstimation time. So we need to be looking in the next probably year and a half. We have to have properties in mind that we're going to be moving this money into. We got to be identifying properties where we're going to be pushing the proceeds to fold the money over or roll it over to continue the process of gain. And if we don't identify that, then we're going to be scrambling for 45 days.
Sure. And if you want to do that, that's fine. If you just want to take the cash and go on a trip, pay taxes on it, you can do that. It's just, again, but if you don't, hey, pay attention. Now, the other thing is that the property that you're purchasing has to be the same or a larger value than the one that you're already in.
Yep.
Okay. But you can do multiple purchases. So you can sell one property and go buy 2 or 3 other ones, as long as they add up to be more than the one you sell. Okay.
Yes.
So that's another key. Now, if it isn't, if the property is less than what you're in now, you don't get taxed on the whole thing, but you get taxed on partial amount of it. So I mean, you're not dead if you find something that's less expensive or whatever. But kind of keep that in mind too. Trying to build and grow.
Now, on top of that, this is something that we dug into, because one of the fallacies of the 1031 exchange that I have always heard is that you have to exchange within similar context. And in all the investigation that Blaine and I have done, that is not what we have learned. Now, if there's somebody that counters that, send us a message. We'll bring you on the show. Let's talk about it, whatever it is, because this is what we found is if you're involved in multifamily real estate, that you can take any proceeds and you can move to single family real estate. You can move to land development. You can move to new build condos, multifamily, whatever you want. You can cross any lines of investment to be able to use that money. Whereas what I had always been taught or always thought that people would tell me was that you have to stick within the same confines of the same context of real estate. And that is in the investigation we found is not true.
I don't think that's true. Yeah. And what you mean is like, if you're in multifamily, you have to invest in multifamily. If you're in single family homes and you have 20 of them, you have to reinvest in single family homes. And that doesn't appear to be the case. It seems you can kind of, as long as it's real estate, I don't think you can go buy a company with that. Right.
It's gonna be real estate.
Like the sale of my dental practice. I sold half my dental practice to my partner. And, so there's obviously I'm going to get taxed on that. And I can't invest that money into real estate and use 1031 for that, because that's not like it's different companies, different type of situation. But if you're strictly into real estate, you can roll through different kinds of real estate pretty easily with that.
Yep. And then something you said earlier is you have to buy the same amount of property or greater. You have to have the purchase of the next investment is at least as much as the one that you're selling. That's important. And
That's important.
You cross
Yep.
that one. So
Yep.
I think another myth that they taught that I've learned in some of the investigation I did was you don't have to finance. So for instance, if you finance the property A, you do not have to finance property B. That's another fallacy. You don't have to do the same thing. You can actually come and buy property B for cash if you want. And then with the profits that you've got from A, you don't have to do any financing. You can do the whole thing from there. So an example of something like this would be, let's say that you sell a property for 500,000. This one, it has $200,000 in debt. So once you sell, you walk away, you have 300,000 in the exchange account, right? Because 2,000 in debt, so you have 300,000 that you get to keep. 300,000 goes into the exchange account that's going to move to the next property, and you have to buy a 500,000 piece of investment, real estate, whatever, to be able to defer the money. Okay, everybody follow that example? Blaine, follow?
Yep. Got it.
So that means you can buy one property for $250,000 cash, and you can use 50,000 of the proceeds as a down payment on another piece of property. So imagine you move
That's
from
worth
one
250.
that's worth 250. So imagine now we got one property. Now we just go to two properties, and you're still spending the 300,000 that you get to defer in the exchange account. Make sense? Because you got 250 and 50.
Yep.
So, and if we have
Totally.
to show that on a whiteboard, we can certainly do all that. All that is to say that we defer all the tax. You get two properties versus one property. You now have a solidly leveraged piece of property that you paid cash for that you no longer owe. So you can leverage money at the banks, and you have less risk as the other one that you have financed. So now you're moving your money in a place that not only you're not paying taxes, but you're growing your portfolio. And that's one of the key things of a 301 exchange.
Yeah. Nice. Lots of advantages here. So we talked about three of the 4Ds. And then we said we go to the other D.
Yeah.
And so the fourth D is different than defer. Or defer.
Or yeah.
It is die, right?
Die.
And so, not anything people like to talk about or think about, but we'll all get there eventually, right?
I don't know, maybe.
What happens? What Fountain of Youth? What happens if you own property and when you die, you can transfer this to your heirs without tax.
Zero tax.
So we talk about generational wealth. This is one very, very important way of doing that without Uncle Sam coming in and destroying your whole trust or your whole investment. Because, if you have it sitting in the bank, if you have money sitting in the bank or, in a CD or something like that, or a retirement account, and you die and it goes to your heirs, Uncle Sam's going to take about half of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's in real estate, it can transfer to your heirs tax-free. And that's pretty important, pretty big.
It also means that no one has, it's not only is it tax-free, no one has to pay it back. Because you would think that the debt service gets put on top of those that are inheriting the money, right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
It does not at all. No. Zero. So I think the other cool thing about the 1031 exchange in regards to when you die, Blaine, is not only that, but it takes on the market value the day that you die. So the market value could be $500,000 more than what you have invested at that earlier time, and it still is zero tax.
Yeah,
zero tax. So I thought that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I think so too.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of advantages to this, and of course, as a disclaimer, we are not tax experts, right, Matt?
we are not. As a matter of fact, I don't like tax. I don't know.
Before you get involved in one of these, please contact your accountant or your tax expert to verify and do what's best for you individually.
Yeah,
So there's some nuances with this stuff that we maybe don't know about and stuff, but like I said, we're just doing an overview here.
Yeah, there's several cool things about the 1031 too, Blaine, that one of them is you could do this for life. This 1031 exchange, this isn't
Yeah.
like you get two 1031 exchanges. You can keep going your entire life 1031 exchanging and deferring the tax. So, I mean, and if you just think about in the context of time and what money can do for you, and you just start, it's baffling. It's baffling that we pay so much in other places. How do we not continue to do this in our lives? You have to find avenues to keep your money. Uncles, I'm
Yeah.
tired of Uncle. I don't like the silent investor in everything I do, and I don't even know him. You know what I mean? He's like the long lost uncle you never met that shows up. Hey, how you doing? Where's my piece of the pie? Don't like it. So we talked about going from any type of real estate to the other type of real estate. One of the this is something I wrote down and wanted to talk about. One of the things about deferring is you are allowed to adjust your personal journey. You adjust it to where you are. So for instance,
Yeah, this is cool.
you and I are at the stage, Blaine, where we are, there's multiple places. So as you move through life, you start to acquire a little bit of wealth, and then all of a sudden you need to move your money somewhere to save a little bit of tax. So you move it into, let's say you buy a couple single family homes, and then all of a sudden you meet someone, you get married, and then you have kids, and then they want to go on vacation. So all these vacations, you want to figure out, man, is there a way that I can use the money that I'm making in real estate and move it to vacation? So what if I bought some property down at the beach where we may like to vacation? So now we're kind of moving the real estate investments to the areas that we want to vacation to. And then like where Blaine and I are at in retirement is, where do we want to retire to? Maybe we're moving it now from the places we used to vacation over to where now we want to retire and live. So I think that is a really cool thing. And the example would be, I'm sure, Blaine, you're not going to stick in Iowa your whole life. Maybe you are, but
I'm hoping to get to South Carolina. That's where I'm.
Is
That's
that where
where
you're
I want to.
going?
That's where I
Okay.
want to retire.
Well, there's a lot of advantages to
There's
being in
South
South
Carolina is
Carolina.
pretty badass state. There's
Let me
some
tell you.
awesomeness in there.
The best part is that it's a red state, and that's the most amazing thing. So many advantages, But yes, I think one of the things that I wanted to say in an example is, if you sell your primary residence and you live in your next residence, or you got to live in the residence for 2 years, for at least 2 years. If you stay in the residence for at least 2 years and then you sell it, and let's say you have multiple properties, you can move into another property that you own and do the same thing that you did on the first property with 1031 exchange. Have you looked into that?
No.
No, this is really cool. I'll give you an example because this will make sense. Let's just say that you reached retirement. Blaine and I are at the stage where we've taken some money out of the investments we have, and we decide, I'm going to go down to Destin and we're going to buy three houses in a row, 3 condos. Let's just say 3 condos.
Beach houses.
Let's
Make
go
sure they're on
beach
the
houses.
beach. Yeah.
Beach houses. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. So we
That's
buy
short-term rentals, right?
Yeah. So short-term rentals. So, but at the same time, we choose one of them to go down on vacation in, for a month, whatever it is. I like the beach, go down a couple of times. So we rent it in the times that we're not using it. And we have a place that we can use, kind of scot-free because we're using it as rental income. Okay. So we own the 3. We decide that we're going to sell out, move from Iowa to one of the 3 properties that we have been renting in Destin. So we decide to move into one of those properties, and we live in that property for, even though we've owned it for 5 years, we live in that property for 3 years.
Yeah, it's claimed as your primary residence.
Correct.
That's what the IRS calls it.
Yep. So now we live in the primary residence of one of the 3 that we were renting, and we decide that, hey, you know what? I need some more money. So what do? We go ahead and we sell that piece of property, and we get 60% of all of the deferred gain tax-free, 60% of that. So we take the money that we get from this property that we sell, and now guess what? I need another primary residence. Where do you think I'm going to move to, Blaine?
How about next door?
Next door in Destin, Florida. I'm going to move right next door to one of these houses that I've been getting rental income from, and I'm going to live there for, guess how long I'm going to live there for,
Yeah,
Blaine?
maybe a couple of years.
Couple years, minimum of 2 years before I decide what I want to do. Let's just say I live there for 2 years and I decide, you know what? I really want to start traveling and going all over the world and I need some more money. So now guess what I do? I sell that piece of property once again. I take 60% of all that is deferred in the gain, and then I've got to find a primary residence. Where do you think I'm going to go, Blaine?
There might be one next door.
I think I'm going to look to my left and go next door once again in the third piece of property that I purchased over 10 years ago. And I do this all scot-free, tax-free. How in the heck have we not been taking advantage of this 1031? Well, guess what? We're going to start taking advantage of this 1031. We've got some big things lined up, Blaine and I. So we're looking forward to doing that. Maybe we're going to be neighbors.
Maybe that would be.
Maybe you buy 3 and I buy 3, and we just kind of move down. Like we'll always be next to our neighbors for like years. We'll just move it down. Would that be cool?
Nice. That would be cool.
Cool.
We could do that.
But I thought that's really interesting is 60% of that is coming directly to you in funds saved, and that's just deferred. And it's deferred as long as you want until you go to sell again, till you close on property. So I think there's so much to this that I did not know until I really started diving into it, because I think there are a lot of fallacies about it out there. Just like the 2 that I shared with you that I heard, it never made sense to me. I was just like, well, why would you not be able to invest it from there? If you do land, can you not move the land property to a house? I would think so. You can. Maybe where people are thinking, Blaine, is the example that you gave. Like you can't sell your dental practice and unless you sold the real estate in your dental practice.
I could do that.
Yeah. But if you didn't, if you just sold your practice, took money, you can't put that in and exchange it for property.
Or you can't buy another dental practice and you exchange it either. I don't think, because it's real estate oriented. Right? So there's now the other thing we got to get into, and typically we talk about real estate syndications, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does this work with real estate syndications? And we got to research a little bit of this. I've come up with a few different thoughts, or I've heard a few different things on syndications, in the fact that when oftentimes if you're syndicating, if you're an investor, an LP in a syndication, you're investing in a company that buys real estate, right? Or security, maybe you could call it. You're not actually owning the real estate. And so maybe it doesn't work because you're not actually owning the real estate. Now, that may or may not be true, because you can set up your syndication a certain way, or to become, or to, so that your owner, so that LPs actually own the property, but you have to have it structured a specific way. And that's called a TIC, which is a tenancy in common structure. I don't know much about that.
No, I didn't either. I haven't heard that.
We might have to look into that and get back to you guys on that. Or if you're a GP, that's totally different than an LP,
right?
From my understanding too.
Right.
LPs is passive investors. GPs, they're making this happen, right? So they're more directly involved. So I think as a GP, this 1031 exchange works a lot smoother, a lot easier. But yeah, we'll have to look into the TIC situation and find out some information on.
So what I heard you say was, it depends on the structure of the buy-in, correct?
Correct. Of the
whether
syndication.
it's a TIC or the syndication. I think another thing that we need to look into that would fit along that category is if you were putting into a real estate fund. So let's say somebody has a fund and they're using it to purchase multiple properties. Is that fund covered in that tenants in common or not? So I think you and I have a little bit of investigation to do to report back to everybody. And
or
I'd say
maybe one of our listeners can tell us. Maybe they know it.
Yeah, I think if somebody has some information on that,
send it this way,
or we'll put you on the show. We'll put you on the show. Yeah, hey,
so that's what we need to do.
We're about due for another guest. I mean,
yeah, we need a guest on here.
You know what
People
though?
like them.
We're gonna be out in Dallas here in a few weeks, and I'm sure we'll put a few people on as guests, and
Yeah.
just like we did. What last year we had our good friend Eric that came on,
Yep.
and he's the what is it? Walnuts, almonds. He's
No, pistachios.
pistachios.
Pistachios. Yeah.
We got into the discussion of what's under the white tarp in the hills. That's why I say that. But Eric has been, we met him in Dallas and we maintained a friendship through the years. And he's always got some comments and stuff for us on the podcast. He's an avid listener, and Eric Grenadis. And just, hey, shout out to you, brother. And it's good to have you with us always. But, maybe we've got somebody that knows something about this, because this is something that I think we're going to need to know more about in regards to the 1031. And like Blaine said, we're just giving some basic information as we learned it and as we've learned it. And I think we're going to give some updates as to what that means, this tenants in common, and whether it's dependent upon the deal that's signed, and whether you're in a fund or whatnot. So more to come on that, guys. But 1031 is a great way to line yourself up for maximum potential.
Yes, and minimum tax.
Screw tax. Screw
Bam.
Uncle Sam. I just, it's frustrating. It is. I don't know if anyone, I'm sure everybody feels the same way, but in particular as professionals, we just get hammered. I mean, it's just unbelievable the amount of money that you just spend, and it's hard to get away with it. So, there's one way that we're looking to get away with it, Blaine. What is that way?
I don't know.
Professional real estate status, I believe. And
professional real estate status, Matt.
That's the right answer, Blaine.
That's
Good
the right
job.
answer. That's what we need to do.
And you know what? That's what we're after this year in particular, with our documentation of all the investigation, all the work we're putting into these properties. And it's going to be, I think we're going to be there at the end of the year. I think it's going to be great, and it's going to continue our journey into the real estate game. And this is another way that we are going to be able to pass on information that's truly beneficial to being part of this. And that was one of the things that, for me personally, that attracted me to multifamily real estate, is as I got to know some of these key players and some of the people that have become friends of ours, just kind of how much they enjoy life right now. And I'm thinking, I'm ready to enjoy life. Not that I haven't up until this point, but we've worked hard for nearly 30 years. And hell, if I knew that I could have vacationed and called it work, I would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
So,
all right. We're going to get on, we got to get online and find our Destin properties here. So we'll work on that too.
Yes.
3 in a row, 6 in a row.
Yep.
Whole bunch on the beach.
If you guys want to live next to us, we'll find some properties.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're fun, and we're good, extremely good looking. So
yeah.
And funny.
I'll look for some beachfront property here in Iowa too.
Just ask us. Yeah, if you've got some, I'm interested.
Yeah, the sharks are tough. They're pretty plentiful here in Iowa.
Dude, land
so
sharks
you gotta be
land sharks
careful
are
with that.
rough.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, they'll hurt you. They'll hurt you. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Right on.
Once again, what do we need them to do, Blaine?
Like our podcast.
Like it. Share it
with other people. Let other people know, because we're here to help others. The more we help you, the better off things are.
And we're givers. That's why, because we're just givers.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just it. We give and we give and we give. And that's what we do. So, hey, send us your questions. Send us some personal questions that you have. Hit us on the messages or the comments below. And we look forward to those. If we can help answer anything, please send it out. So until next week.
Happy trails.
Happy trails, everybody.
Just sing a song and